The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. There comes a moment, usually in the silence, when you realize that no one is coming to save you. No blueprint will map the terrain of your soul. No borrowed wisdom will ever fit quite right. The world is loud with noise, with formulas for success, with pre-packaged identities to wear like costumes. But beneath all that, there is you, untouched, unlabeled, unshaped. This is not a message for the crowd. It's for the one who has always felt a little different. The one who has tasted loneliness, who questions everything, who doesn't quite fit. Carl Jung knew this soul well. He didn't preach conformity. He didn't celebrate belonging. He said something radical. The individual must come to his own way. Not their way. Your way. And to find it, you may have to vanish for a while. Chapter 1. The Sacred Separation. A man who has not passed through the inferno of his passions has never overcome them. There is a sacred process in becoming yourself, and it begins with separation. Not in bitterness, not in rebellion, but in reverence. Solitude isn't loneliness. It's a rite of passage, a return to the cave where your soul can speak. Jung's concept of individuation, the process of becoming the person you were always meant to be, requires pulling away from the collective. Not because others are wrong, but because you are different. Every voice telling you what to do, how to live, how to be, that's the noise of the outer world. But who are you when all those voices fall silent? Who are you in the stillness? Jung wrote, "The individual who wishes to have an answer to the problem of evil as it is posed today has need, first and foremost, of self-knowledge." And self-knowledge doesn't arrive through groupthink. It comes in quiet. It comes in retreat. It comes when you stop dancing to someone else's rhythm and start listening for your own heartbeat. And so you leave, not forever, but for long enough to remember who you are when nobody's watching. To enter the desert, as Jung called it. To confront the shadow, the fear, the chaos inside, because that's where your gold is buried. Bukowski once wrote,
"Isolation is the gift. All the others are a test of your endurance, of how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it, despite rejection and the worst odds. And it will be better than anything else you can imagine."
It's in the isolation that your way is born. It's in the rejection that your originality sharpens. To be alone is not to be abandoned. It is to be entrusted. You were never meant to be a copy. You are here to become a soul that has never been seen before. Chapter 2. The Myth of Comparison. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. We've been conditioned to measure ourselves against everyone else. Their pace, their path, their trophies, their timelines, as if life were a race and fulfillment came with a finish line. But Carl Jung shattered this illusion. He saw the human psyche not as a factory to be standardized, but as a vast inner landscape, each soul its own world, with its own seasons, archetypes, symbols, and wounds. Comparison, he believed, is a detour, a distraction that pulls you out of your own sacred process. Because the more you look at someone else's path, the further you stray from your own. There is no universal roadmap to becoming. There is only this, you, here, now, and your next step, carved out of your own questions, your own silence, your own struggle. You can't download a soul, you can't copy purpose, and you sure as hell can't mimic meaning. Jung warned that imitating others is the death of the self. If the path before you is clear, he said, you're probably on someone else's. Every time you compare your progress, your success, your identity to someone else, you abandon yourself, and your life becomes performance, not expression. Imitation, not integration. But when you stop competing, you start becoming. You begin to see that life isn't about beating others. It's about meeting yourself, because your soul didn't come here to win. It came here to awaken. And that awakening, it doesn't happen in the crowd. It happens in the mirror. Chapter 3. Shadow Work and the Real You. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Solitude isn't just peaceful, it's surgical. It removes distractions so you can finally confront what you've buried. In isolation, the shadow emerges. The shadow is everything you've rejected about yourself. The envy, the anger, the fear, the shame, the desires you thought were wrong. Jung believed that unless we integrate our shadow, we remain incomplete, wearing masks, living lies, projecting our darkness onto others. But when you are truly alone, when no one is around to impress, judge, or deceive, your shadow rises like smoke from a forgotten fire. And in that moment, you face a choice. Will you run, or will you watch it burn and sift through the ashes for your truth? Because here's what Jung knew. Your shadow isn't your enemy. It's your teacher. It holds the parts of you that were exiled to survive. And when you welcome those parts back home, you become whole. This is not comfortable work. This is soul work. You will cry, you will rage, you will feel lost, but slowly the masks fall away, and the real you, raw, scarred, honest, begins to rise. You realize that your anger was just a cry for boundaries. Your envy was a cry for direction. Your fear was a cry for presence. And your shame, just a cry to be loved exactly as you are. This is what Jung meant when he said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." In solitude, you reclaim that power, not by pretending to be pure, but by facing what's hidden and letting it teach you. So if you're feeling lost right now, good. That means you're close. Chapter 4. The Gift of Going Your Own Way. The shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases. The world will offer you templates. Follow this method. Take this path. Be like them. But what happens when you try to live a life that doesn't belong to you? You shrink. You suffocate. You succeed, maybe. But you feel nothing. Carl Jung believed that the most important journey a person can take is the journey inward, to discover their own values, their own voice, their own vision of truth. He called it individuation, the slow, sacred unfolding of your real identity, not the one assigned to you. This process doesn't come with applause. There are no medals for rejecting the status quo. But the gift? Freedom. When you go your own way, you stop needing permission. You stop begging for validation. You realize that authenticity costs comfort, but gives you your life back. You stop being a role and start being a soul. Charles Bukowski, gruff and raw as ever, once said, "Can you remember who you were before the world told you who you should be?" Going your own way means returning to that version of yourself. Not the watered-down, filtered persona, but the child who dreamed wildly, the artist who never asked for likes, the thinker who questioned everything. The world may not understand. They may call you a rebel, a loner, an outsider. Let them, because Jung reminds us, the individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. But it's that very struggle, the tension between you and the world, that creates a soul with depth. Not a copy, not a clone, but a rare, irreplaceable original. Chapter 5. Creating Without Blueprints. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. Once you stop comparing, once you face your shadow, once you step off the paved path, you arrive at something terrifying and beautiful. A blank page. No maps, no mentors, no models, just the raw material of your being, ready to be shaped. This is where most people turn back, because there's no certainty here, only creativity. But that's the secret. That's the point. You were never meant to follow a script. You were meant to write one. Jung believed that true transformation comes not from replication, but from creation, from allowing your inner images, your symbols, your dreams, your desires, to take form in the outer world. He wrote, "The creative mind plays with the objects it loves." And what do you love, really? Not what you've been told to love, not what gets you applause, but what stirs your soul when no one's looking. To create without blueprints is to trust your intuition more than the algorithm. To follow your obsessions, your fascinations, your madness. It's messy, it's sacred, it's real. You'll make mistakes, you'll feel lost. But that's how originality works. It's not clean, it's not predictable, it's alive. And the more you create from that inner fire, the more you discover who you are. Not as a copy of anyone else, but as a living embodiment of something that's never existed before. That's why isolation matters, not because you hate the world, but because sometimes you have to leave the noise to hear your own soul speak, and when it does, you create something that only you could bring into the world. Chapter 6, You versus You, the real battle. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. It's easy to blame the world, to project your frustration onto others, to believe that your competition is out there. But Carl Jung taught us something far more uncomfortable and liberating. Your greatest battles aren't external, they're internal. The critic in your head, the wound you haven't healed, the fear that keeps you small, the resentment that festers every time you see someone else succeed. You think you're fighting them. You're not. You're fighting your reflection. The ego loves a villain. It loves someone to compare against, to beat, to envy. But the soul? The soul knows that every conflict is a mirror. Every person you hate is showing you something unresolved. Every person you envy is pointing to something unlived. Jung said, "The greatest and most important problems of life are all fundamentally insolvable. They can never be solved but only outgrown." Outgrown. That's the key. You don't defeat your demons by arguing with them. You outgrow them by becoming so honest, so aware, so present that they no longer have a hold on you. This is why solitude is essential. Because in the absence of distractions, you're forced to sit with your real opponent, your unhealed self. And when you do that, day by day, moment by moment, you begin to see that the war isn't against others. It's between who you've been and who you're becoming. It's always been you versus you. But that's not a fight. It's a transformation. Chapter 7, Becoming Who You Were Meant to Be. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. So what does it really mean to live your way? It means no longer waiting for permission. It means giving up the comfort of belonging for the freedom of becoming. It means letting your solitude sculpt you instead of letting society shrink you. Because here's the truth. Your life is not an imitation. It is an initiation. Every moment of doubt, every failure, every long night alone, it was all preparing you to step into the world not as a product, but as a presence. Not as a clone, but as a soul. When Jung spoke of individuation, he wasn't offering a psychological trick. He was giving you a map to your own liberation, to live your life not based on trends or traumas or traditions, but based on truth, your truth. And that truth, it will not be found in a crowd. It will not be handed to you. It will rise from within. The call to return. You were never meant to follow their way. You were meant to find your own. That's why you feel the urge to pull away sometimes, to disconnect, to go quiet, to vanish, not to escape life, but to meet it, fully, honestly, authentically. So let them misunderstand you. Let them call you strange. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to understand yourself. And once you do, once you emerge from that solitude, you don't come back with noise. You come back with clarity, with depth, with soul. Jung knew it. Bukowski knew it. And somewhere deep down, you've always known it too. The only way is your way. So go. Turn inward. Break the mold. Face the mirror. And rise, not as someone else, but as the one you were always meant to be.